pretty easy with just open strings. Start with your thumb on the low E string. Then index finger plays G, middle plays B, and this ring finger plays the high E. Then back to the B string, G. And what you're hearing there is an E minor chord. So that gets played 4 times. Third time. Now on the 4th time we play it like this. We don't play that G. Instead, we go to the 7th fret on the high E string there. We play this like that. So we play the 7th fret once by itself and then again with the open E. So that 4th part goes. And for that I switched to my middle finger. You can use whatever. And then we play open B, open G. Then we pick this again and do a pull off to an open E string. So pick it, index, pulls off. So now we have. So after that pull off, we play a B and a G. So starting from that 4th part here, we have now. Now we're going to pick an open E with an open B, followed by a G. I use the middle finger for that, B string, index for the G. So now we have. And now we're going to the 7th fret on the E string here. I'm going to pick 7, 8, and you can include an open B string with those. And then we're going to pick 7, 8 as a hammer-on pull-off, like this, and then slide back to the 5th fret. It's like that. So after this part here, we played the 7th fret on the E string with an open B. And now we're going to pick the E string at the 5th fret here and slide back to the 3rd fret. And then pinky reaches up to the 5th fret on the B string. And we play that by itself the first time, and then we play it again with an open A string. And when I get to this 5th fret on the B string, I also want to get this ring finger ready on the 5th fret on the G here. Because we're going to play the open A string with that B string. And then right after, we're going to pick the 5th fret on G, 5th fret on B. And this index finger is going to do a pull off on the 2nd fret on the high E string there. While we're still holding the 5th frets of B and G there. And then we're going to go back up to the 5th fret on B, 5th fret on G. So after this slide here, we'll do this recap. Pinky goes to 5th fret on the B. And you want to curve that pinky finger so it's not touching any other string. And then we do that pull off 2nd fret and go back up. And then from there, we're going to play the open A string, 5th fret of G, B, open E. So just a recap, we have and now we're going to play the open A string with the G, B, and E strings. The way we're holding them here, we're going to go, so we're still holding the 5th frets down. We're going to go open A, then 2nd fret of A, 3rd fret of A. So we're climbing up to a C chord there. So that's after this part. So after this part, the thumb is going to hit that 3rd fret on the A string, that C note. And then index, middle, index is going to play those 5th frets on G and B. So we have that. Now the index finger comes off, does a pull off to the 3rd fret on the E string there. And then followed by a B and a G. Like that. And then we go back to this 3rd fret on the A string, and we slide it up to the 5th fret. So like this. 2 successive pluckings with the fingers. And we're going to play a similar pattern. We're going to go 5th fret, so starting from here again, we have and after that, we're going to let go. We're going to do a open string E, hammer onto the 5th fret, pull off, then a pull off at the 7th fret on the B, then a hammer onto the 5th fret on B. Using those fingers, index, ring finger, index. And then right after that, we're back into, except this time we go up to the 12th fret to play some natural harmonics. So that part. For these. And the natural harmonics part is at the 12th fret of G, B, and E. You're just resting your finger above the bar there. It's a nice effect. Just play the first time there. Here's a recap of part 1. Part 2 starts with an open E string, and we have to make an E minor chord here. So the index finger is at the 7th fret on the A string. Pinky and ring are 9th frets of D and G. Middle finger is the 8th fret on B, and the index bar is the 7th fret of the E string, the high E string there. So you should hear E minor chord. And we start by playing that low E string, then we kind of run through the chord, And then when we get to the E string, we're going to play the B and the E string together. Like that. I just like using my index finger and then the index in the middle to play these ones. Thumb for the low E string. And now we're going to move to the 5th fret on the A string for this D major chord. So 5th fret, then 7th fret on the D string, and then the G and B get played together with the index in the middle. And now we're going to go back to the 3rd fret for a C major chord, same thing. So after you finish a C chord, you play that E string while you're moving back up to this E minor chord. This part gets played 3 times in a row. Now at the end of the 3rd time here, we now go into a G chord. Now you could, use your pinky and ring on the E and B strings and middle finger or index finger on the 3rd fret of the low E. But to make this quick, I use my thumb on the 3rd fret of the low E and the index finger on the 3rd frets of E and B. And I do one of these. So play the low E string and then E, B, open G. Then we switch into a B7 chord. So basically you want to hold the 2nd fret of the A string, the 2nd fret of the high E string, and the 2nd fret of the G. Then we're going to play the A string first, high E, open B, and then 2nd fret of G there. So we have and after that, low, open E string, open G, open B. Back to that pattern. That only gets played twice there at this part. So we have. Then we're on to part 3. So there's an easy way to play the verse chords using a pick, like it's done in the live version, where you play the low E string, G, B, E, then the G, E, B, G again. So we have. Then we jump into that D chord. And then the C chord. So the D chord, 2nd frets of G and D, 3rd fret of B. So we have, and then we jump to that 3rd fret on the A string here for that C chord. But we have that open E string, 3rd fret of the B string there, augmented C chord. And then 3, 2, 0, back into that E minor chord. So now we're into the verse chords. So starting with that low E string, then a G, a B, and a 3rd fret of the E string here. Now I use my thumb for the G next. We're going to play the G, middle plays the high E, index on the B, and then back to that G again. It's played kind of quick. It's a double speed from the last notes. Like that. So after you've practiced that a few times, we jump into a D major chord. So second frets of E and G, third fret on that B string there. Keep everything curved. All we're going to play at first though is just the D and the E strings there. So we have this. So now we got like that. And now we're going to play an open D. And then the pinky is going to go down on the third fret of the high E there. And the index is going to lift off of the G. So we have, so open D. So once again. And now that middle finger is going to go down to the third fret on the A string, and we're going to play an open E string with that. And then we're still holding down the third fret of the B there, and we're going to play that with the open G real quick. So it's like 1, 2, and then middle finger jumps up to the third fret of E. I'm going to go 3, 2, 0. So that part is like, and then we're back into the open G and B. You already know this part again. Back into a D chord. And now this time the pattern's a little different. We're going to go, after we play the second fret of the E with the open D, we're going to play that D string again, and the B string, and then the G with a pull off. So it's, and then that ring finger jumps to the third fret on the A string. Play that with the B string there. So it's like your C chord there. And then we're going to go G, B, and 3, 2, 0 again. So that second part is another one of these. And then a D chord. And now we're going to play that third fret on the high E again. So third fret, open G. So we have. And now this middle finger jumps onto the third fret of the A string again. And I'm going to play that with the third fret of the high E string. Like that. So we have. And then middle finger goes to the third fret of E. A G note here, this is a G chord. Then the G string. And then the third frets of B and E. Like that. And then second fret on the A string. Second fret on E. Open B. And then the E strings together. Back into this thing. Only twice, so it's. The second time we stop at that B string and go 3, 2, 0, and we're back into that pattern again.